Kia ora homa. On today's video, we're going to be making a rocket car. So if you think that's something that you're going to be into, stick around and I'll see you in the video. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be combining a couple of different experiments to try out a hypothesis that I've been pondering for a couple of days. And that hypothesis is if I can make a rocket car using the fire extinguisher experiment. Now I'm going to put a little bit of a link to it up here. And basically, just to give you a bit of an outline of the fire extinguisher experiment, it's a baking soda and vinegar experiment, or an acid-base experiment contained within a bottle with a hole. So it makes a pressurized fire extinguisher that shoots out a foam. Now, it does generate a lot of pressure, and what I'm trying to do is get that pressure in a way so that it shoots my car along. So I'm going to have my Red Bull bottle, and the reason I've chosen this Red Bull bottle is because it's very, very sturdy. I know it's strong, and it's not going to explode, and that's not going to happen in the baking soda vinegar experiment unless I put on a closed cap. This is going to have like a little hole in it to act as the nozzle for the rocket. So then that's going to be hot glued to my toy car base. Now this toy car I've used for lots of different things. This was used for solar powered car during the tech challenge, and this is going to be used for my Red Bull racer. So essentially what it is going to be like that. Now I've got to take into account if I do it too far back like that, it's going to do that and it's not going to get the right desired effect. So it needs to be relatively even. So I have taken that into account, and so the placement of the bottle is going to be roughly there. So next what I'm going to do is assemble the bottle, and I'll come back and talk you through it, and then hopefully at the end of the day I might be able to show you the experiment actually working. So like I showed you before, I had basically the chassis or the bottom plate and the wheels, and then I had a Red Bull bottle, and like I explained, the Red Bull bottle I knew was going to be able to handle. It's basically the fuel tank and engine of my rocket car. So what I've done now is I've glued the two together. Now I was going to show you the gluing process, but a whole bunch of my students came in and were very curious as to what I was doing, and I can't obviously show their faces on my channel, so I just did it while they watched and talked to them. So I'm just going to explain to you what I did, and it's really, really simple. I rummaged through my box of loot. I keep a whole bunch of boxes of spare parts of interesting cogs and gears and all kinds of stuff from other various pieces and plastic and all kinds of stuff. And so I found this little nice U-shaped piece of plastic, and I hot glued that into the base. And I needed to hot glue that into the base to give the front wheels clearance. And then I hot glued it onto the wheel arches at the back, so it sits relatively flat. Now, I understand when you look at it, it does sit level, and I've given it a push, and so it does free roll along the ground under its own weight. The other thing that I was interested in is that I wanted to make sure that the nozzle of my bottle didn't tip too far down, because as soon as I put it on the ground to let it go and rock it across the ground, I didn't want all the fuel to just tip out. I wanted that pressure to be intense enough that it's going to force it to fire it along the ground, basically. So the last little step that I took after I hot glued it on, so that's nice and secure now, okay, and it conveniently stands, which is even better. I can just stand it there for later use, which is always a bonus. Is I've punctured this tiny little hole. Now the forces that are going to be applied to the bottle aren't going to be enough that it's going to be dangerous, but I did have to make the hole small enough so that there would be enough pressure created that it's going to generate thrust. If I make the hole too big, all that thrust is just going to rush out and the car probably won't move. Now because the hole is very, very tiny, it's really going to want to force that energy along, thus forcing my rocket car along. That's the theory. So whether that works or not, we'll soon find out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fuel this up now, and then I'm going to stick my car on the ground outside my classroom and see what happens. Stick around. Famous last words. before we get going, I'm just going to quickly show you my fuel. And so I'm going to add approximately a cup of vinegar, probably just a little under, that's 250 mils of vinegar. And I'm going to add that to my bottle. Probably a little, not even that full, because this bottle, by the way, is only 330 mils. So I don't want to add the entire contents. But the more volume of vinegar I add, the more my bottle will pressurize. So before I add the vinegar, I'm going to add some liquid soap. That's going to help really trap those gases and make it a lot more foamy, which is going to kind of help to pressurize it, basically, by creating that foam is the bit that's going to help propel and generate the thrust rather than the gases. It's not so much the gases that I want to propel my rocket along, it's the foam. And the foam's going to help trap those gases and keep it going. So just over 100 mils has gone into my bottle. I'm just going to give it a quick... Yep. So that, just quickly checking the balance and stuff like that, and it's fine. So the last ingredient I would add before I let it off is I'd quickly pour baking soda in there, wind the cap on, give it a quick shake and stick it on the ground. Let's try this out. So, I thought that this was a real success. Really, really simple thing to make, especially if you've got a couple of like a broken toy car at home and an old bottle. It doesn't have to be a Red Bull bottle. I liked it because of the aesthetic, and I knew that it was going to be able to handle the pressures that were involved. But you could use a normal Coke bottle, like a 350 ml Coke bottle or 360 ml Coke bottle. This is a 330 ml Red Bull bottle, so it's not large. You don't do this with a 1.5. It just probably wouldn't work as well. But yeah, I thought this is a thumbs up. It was a really good idea. It was one of my crazy, mad scientist-y ideas that's rolling around in my head, and I wondered if I could do it, and it did, first time round. It doesn't normally happen like that, but it did this time. And so yeah, thumbs up. That was cool. And if you think it was cool too, give me a like with one of the like buttons below. Click in the links below and share the link with other people, because it's always good to share the message and spread the love of fun and education and science. And if you like the channel, hit subscribe so you can stay in touch with me and see what I'm doing on my channel all the time. But for now, ka kite anō. Until next time, see you on Mr. Ashley's Place.